All right, guys, welcome back to another Raid Shadow Legends video. This is Ali Plays. So today we're going to be doing Demon Spawn Faction Wars tier list. All right, so before we get started on this video, a lot of my subscribers are saying my videos are not being recommended to them, and the only way they see them is by chance when they actually search up my channel. So that's going to be an issue. I am currently struggling with views on this channel. It's probably because I've been dormant my channel's been dormant for 6 months. And now I'm back. I've been posting pretty consistently. I said I would only do one video a week, but I am doing more. Hopefully I can continue to do 3 to 4 videos a week. And yeah, the best way for you guys to help out this channel, if you guys want to see me continue making Raid Shadow Legends content, best way to help out the channel is by hitting a like. If you guys just subscribe, maybe my videos will not be recommended to you guys. So the best way to actually see the videos is hit the bell icon. So whenever I post a video, you guys will be notified that the video is up. And yeah, you guys can watch it. And just one thing that's something that's very easy for you guys to do is just hit a like. It doesn't cost anything, but it helps out tremendously with the YouTube algorithm. And hopefully I can bring up my channel to the way that it was before. As I said in my community post, I am going to get another green screen. My old one, during the move, I actually lost my original green screen. So I'm actually going to try to get a green screen if I can get this channel back up, if I can start reinvesting in this channel, maybe get a better camera as well in the future to get better quality for you guys. So for those supporting me, thank you guys so much, and sorry for the rambling, but let's get started on the video. All right, so the reason I'm doing these series of these tier lists for Faction Wars, I want to help out a lot of people get Lydia. She's a very strong champion if you guys haven't faced her already in Arena, and yeah, she's definitely amazing. And hopefully this tier list will help you guys out in deciding who you want to use for a specific faction. So I do have 63 stars on Demon Spawns. I am done this faction, so I do have a good understanding of who's good and who's not for Faction Wars. All right, so the first champion we have is Abyssal. He's a rare champion. He is very good. He has an AoE on his A1 that can also place block buffs. And block buffs is very good for Faction Wars, so it is very important. And it's an AoE ability, so you can build him with a stun set. I actually used him with a stun set. Champion also has a heal on his A2, which is very good. And he can also give you a little bit of a buff with increased defense, increased attack. So overall, he is very good in Faction Wars. And he also has an aura skill that increases all your ally speed in faction crypts. So he is actually an S tier for Faction Wars. I actually run him with a stun set, just what I was saying. Make him very fast with a stun set. He's amazing. All right, next up we have Attack the Wanderin. So Attack the Wanderin, I actually have like 3 or 4 of the champion. I don't know why, for some reason I just keep pulling Attack the Wanderin. He's a support champion. So what I really like about Attack the Wanderin and why I think that he is a very good champion for Faction Wars, his A2 ability, he actually places a block debuffs on all allies for 1 turn. And he also provides a 25% strengthen buff for all allies for 2 turns. That ability is good on its own, and he can also attack all enemies. So he has an AoE that also has a freeze if the enemy's attack is higher than their defense. And then he can also provide an HP burn. HP burn is actually not that good in PvE content like Faction Wars, something like that. It's good for Spider, obviously. Those are dungeons. It's not actually that good for it, but it does do additional damage. And he actually does synergize with his A1 ability, where if he has, if the target is under a HP burn debuff, he has a chance of decreasing the duration of 1 random buff on them. And then he also has a 30% chance of decreasing the target's turn rate by 15% if they are under a freeze. So he does synergize very well with himself. And then his passive ability heals all allies by 5% of their max HP every time an enemy under a HP burn debuff gets a turn. And then he fills the turn rate of all allies by 10% every time an enemy under a freeze debuff gets a turn. So he is very amazing for Faction Wars, and yeah, he is a S tier for Faction Wars. All right, so next up we have Atkoth the Seared. We're going to take a look at him over here. This will be way easier for you guys if you guys can actually look at his kit instead of just hearing me talk about him. So Atkoth the Seared, you can only obtain him from Doom Tower, so I do not have him yet, or I haven't been doing Doom Tower because I've been gone for the game for a while. So eventually I will get him, but I'll save you guys the trouble. So this guy is going to be S tier, and if you have him, just build him. You can use him almost everywhere in the game. He's amazing. So he's going to be an S tier. Allure. So Allure is actually one that I used. So what makes Allure amazing for Faction Wars is this ability right here. So Psychic Whip, she attacks 3 times at random and decreases the target's turn meter by 25% on each critical hit. So that's a huge turn meter decrease, which is going to help out a lot on the bosses, as well as the waves that you can stop the enemies from taking turns. And then she also has an AoE that attacks twice, provides a small decreased defense, but it also places sleep debuff on enemies that have the decreased defense already. Sleep can actually help you guys out if you need to crowd control. But again, sleep The enemy gets hit, they take the turn still. They wake up and take a turn. And yeah, so she's basically, her best ability right here is Psychic Whip, and that alone actually makes her an S tier champion for Faction Wars. Kendra Fawn. So Kendra Fawn, I have 2 of Kendra Fawns. Done a lot of videos on this guy. He's actually very good for Faction Wars. The reason being is that he synergizes very well with Veil. He also provides himself with Veil, and he's just hidden the whole time, and then he can dish out a lot of damage, take extra turns. So he's very good for Faction Wars, providing that DPS. And yeah, he's an S tier champion for Faction Wars. So Countess Lix is actually a champion I do not have. She has Weaken on her A1 with a double hit. She has a AoE attack that actually attacks 3 times, and they can also place decreased speed. And then each hail has a 75% chance of decreasing the enemy's turn by 10%. So we have Weaken, turn meter, manipulation, decreased speed, an AoE that places block active. Like, do I need to read more? Like, I actually did not read anything about her kit before this video. Yeah, just by looking at this kit, you can tell already that she's going to be an S tier. For Faction War, she's a legendary, so she's going to be hard to get. I do not have her, obviously. All right, so Krituraksa is going to be next. There she is. So I do not have Krituraksa, but she's actually very good for Faction Wars as well. The cool thing about her is her passive. She actually places Revive on Death on herself for 2 turns at the beginning of each round. And then she places a Revive on Death for 1 turn when this champion kills an enemy with a critical hit. So she's very squishy, so this passive ability is going to make her good and viable for Faction Wars. Her A1 ability is a quadruple hit that ignores 50% of enemy defense, so she's going to be helping out a lot with damage. And she also has a Weaken, and it can remove 2 random buffs from a target, and she gets an extra turn. So I do think that she is good for Faction Wars, but I do not think that she is like an S tier. So she's going to be an A tier for Faction Wars. All right, so it looks like Diabolist is up next. I do have her over here. So you guys probably know a lot about Diabol. She's a top tier rare champion. So she's actually going to be great in Faction Wars. She has a sleep on her A1. She has an AoE that places increased speed buff on all allies. So she attacks enemies and then places increased speed. And then she also fills the turn meter of all allies by 15% and decreases the turn meter of all enemies by 15%. So she's a very fast champion, and overall, I think that she's very good for Faction Wars. I would actually make her an S tier for Faction Wars. She's very viable, and she is pretty easy to get. She is farmable as well. All right, so Dreadstar Blood Twin. So Dreadstar Blood Twin is free to play. Now, you just need 100 shards, so basically 100 days to get him from the Bazaar. I don't have him yet, but I will get him soon. I'm pretty close. I think I need like 15 more days, something like that. He is actually good in Faction Wars. That's good because he is free to play friendly now. He provides HP burn, and he heals himself if the target is under an HP burn. Like he attacks them. He has an AoE that actually plays a Provoke. So AoE Provoke is also very good for Faction Wars. And if the target is actually under an HP burn, it's a 100% chance to land it. And he also places decreased attack if the Provoke is placed. That is amazing. He provides an AoE Provoke and a decreased attack. Fiery Blood, he has a 55% chance of placing HP burn for 2 turns on the attacker 1 hit. And the champion's resistance increases by 10 for every enemy under HP burn. Debuff and stacks up to 50. So I actually really like Dreadstar Blood Twin for Faction Wars. But the thing is, HP burn is not very good in Faction Wars in general. So I would actually place him as an A tier. You can probably synergize him with, was it Chakin? Is that his name? We got his name, Chak. If you guys synergize him, you can probably go up to an S tier. But we're going to keep him as an A tier for now. Next champion, Duchess. I actually don't need to explain. I think she's... I don't need to explain anything about Duchess. She is the best Demon Spawn champion. So she has to be an S. She can take your team. She can like hard support carry a team. You can take your team from 1 star to a 3-star very quick. All right, so next up is Yes. So is it going to be a yes that Yes will be used in Faction Wars? Let's find out. So Yes. She actually did get reworked like a year ago, I think. I don't really remember. So she has a poison on her A1 ability. It's 5% poison, so it is good. It's a pretty high chance. You probably don't even need to book it. 90% is good enough. She has an AoE that actually increases the duration of all debuffs on the target by 1 turn. That can be pretty helpful, but it's not top tier. And she can also place block buffs for 2 turns. Block buffs is actually good, but it's only on a single target. So I don't think that she's actually up there with Krituraksa and Dreadstar. So I'm actually going to put Arrhenius as a B. Next up, we have Excruciator. So I actually did a video on Excruciator. She's a very heavy hitter that is very squishy. That's going to be a big issue in Faction Wars since you need all your allies alive to get 3 stars. Her A1 ability Her damage increases actually by 20% while attacking under a veil buff, and then she heals by 25% of the damage inflicted while attacking without a veil buff. So I guess that kind of helps out with her being squishy, but still, being squishy is not good in Faction Wars. But the good news is she actually places a veil buff on herself at the beginning of each round, and each time she kills an enemy, so it might help you out a little bit, but not as good as Kendra. Her A2 ability can actually be a crazy ability. This is her biggest nuking ability, Neck Snapper. So her damage increases by 35% if she's attacking under a veil buff. That's actually a huge damage increase, especially since she is an attacker, and enemies killed by the skill cannot be revived. I've actually done a video on her if you guys want to check it out, where she actually one-shots Torment the Cold and she blocks his revive, which is amazing, but she needs to go before him. But yeah, this is for Faction Wars. So for Faction Wars, I can actually see her being an A or a B. I think that she is better than Arinia, so we're actually going to throw her in as an A, because she does actually help out herself, but obviously you're going to need to revive her for almost every single run in Faction Wars. All right, so we got Felhound next. Felhound is a top tier rare champion. A lot of people should have him by now. He has an AoE that has decreased speed. I think people build him with stun set. He is good with that. He can also place continuous heal and reflect damage on all allies for 2 turns. And he places a block damage buff on one ally for 1 turn. So I can actually see this guy kind of being top tier. I think he might be over here. You know what? I'm actually going to drop Diabolist. So she's going to be an A tier with Felhound. Sorry, Diabolist. I don't think you're way better than Felhound, so you guys got to be about even. All right, looks like we got Carlos. I'm just going to Gorlos. I'm going to call him Carlos from now on. So we got Carlos Helma. So Carlos is a pretty cool looking champion. He has AoE, decreased defense, chances of placing HP burn, and decreased accuracy. And he fills his turn rate by 20% if the attack is critical. So his kit, to me, does not actually look that good. They have him rated at 4.8 on Faction Wars. I actually do not see him as a 4.8. I know he provides AoE decreased defense. I actually don't know how hard he hits. But for Faction Wars, I think Gorlos is a B for Faction Wars. I don't think he's an A or an S. All right, so Halborn Sprite looks like she's next. She's a pretty new champion. She has weaken on her A1, a pretty low chance of landing it unless you book her. Triple hit with a heal reduction, increased duration of all ally buffs by 1 turn, and place increased crit rate. That's the only viable ability that I see that she has, is her transmuter ability. So she is actually going to be usable if you can make it work. All right, so Hal Fang looks like he is next. Let me take a quick look at his kit. So his A1 ability actually looks kind of useful. He has 15% chance of putting target skills on cooldown. If you actually max it out, it's only going to be a 20% chance. So it's not really that viable, especially if you want to get 63 stars in Faction Wars. He has a weaken on his A2, and he has an AoE that places freeze. And it's only available when Houndspawn is on the same team. That automatically makes him trash, man. So he is going to be a trash tier for Faction War. So Hal Fang is going to be the first champion that's on don't use so far. All right, so we got Hellgazer next. She actually has decreased defense on her A1, which can be very helpful against the boss, but is only a 30% chance. Her A2 ability removes all debuffs from herself and places an increased attack on herself for 2 turns, then grants an extra turn. So I can actually see her setting herself up for a nuke there. And she has an AoE on each critical hit. She fills her turn meter by 10%. She actually looks like she can be pretty viable if you can build her in a way that she can pack a punch, which might be pretty easy because she is an attack type champion. All right, so for Hellgazer, I'm actually going to place her as a B tier. All right, so we got Houndspawn up next. His A1 ability actually has a stun, which is very good, but it's only 20% chance. He has a double hit on his A2 that actually places decreased defense. And he has an AoE that ignores defense and block damage buffs if the target has a freeze debuff. It's only available when Hal Fang is on the same team. So that kind of sucks. He is a little bit better than Hal Fang. He actually is a little bit better than Hal Fang, so he would be over here. You can make it work. And if you actually want to use these two together, this guy would be higher. But I would say don't use him. You know what? I'm actually going to drop this guy. I would say don't use Houndspawn unless you put Hal Fang with him. But yeah, if you guys want to get 63 stars, I wouldn't advise using these two. All right, so we got Ifrit next, or Ifrit. He's HP based. He plays a weaken on his A1, damage based on attack, and he's HP based. Doesn't make sense to me. His A2 ability, damage based on attack and HP. He plays decreased attack and damage increases according to this champion's max HP. So his ability can be very good. You can actually build him a lot of HP. I wouldn't say very good, but it can be serviceable if you can actually build him a lot of HP. And his passive, he decreases the damage received by 50% if the damage from a single hit exceeds 30% HP. And he places a decreased defense for 2 turns on the attack if the attack is critical. So I can actually see this guy being kind of useful. I think he might be hard to kill. So if you build him a lot of HP, I think he can be viable. He has decreased attack, decreased defense, and I think he is serviceable. So if he can make it work, use him. All right, so we got Incubus up next. So this guy's basically stage 12 drop. I bet you a lot of people have this guy because they always farm stage 12. I don't really need to talk about this guy too much, so I'm just going to go ahead. I'm just going to go ahead and drop this guy to don't use this guy, please. All right, so we got Infernal Baroness up next. So Infernal Baroness is a very solid champion in general. She has an AoE on her A1 and heals the ally with the lowest HP by 5% of the damage inflicted. That is very good. She's defense based. Another AoE that plays a decreased attack on all enemies for 2 turns. And then she also plays a perfect veil buff on an ally for 3 turns. So do I consider her like up there with Duchess and whatever, all the other guys? No, I think she's a little bit lower. So I think she's 1 tier lower. So I'm going to place her over here. Yeah, the more I look at this, I feel like dropping these 2 to B tier, but I'm just going to keep it like this. All right, so Neathway, Blood Twin. The twin of Dreadstar, Blood Twin, I guess. So his A1 decreases the target's max HP by 30% of the damage inflicted. This guy is actually crazy good for he's crazy good for Scarab King, but we're not talking about that right now. We're talking about Faction Wars. A triple hit, the damage increase is equal to the percentage of the HP the target has lost. AoE that has actually a Leech. Leech is going to be very good for Faction Wars. Leech is very good for Faction Wars because it provides extra healing for your allies. And he heals himself by 30% of his max HP each time he kills an enemy. An enemy is killed by his champion cannot be revived, so he automatically has block revive in his kit. He has a universal aura skill. So I actually think Neathway is an S tier for Faction Wars. Yo, this is not an order, but I just want to place Duchess up there because I want to highlight that Duchess is the best. All right, so this guy is up next. I'm not going to talk about him. I'm just going to throw him as don't use. All right, so looks like Lord Shazar is next. So Lord Shazar is interesting. He does have a triple hit on his A1, and his damage actually increases by 50% for each debuff on the target. So in Faction Wars, you should actually have a lot of debuffs on the enemies, decreased attack, decreased defense, maybe freeze, whatever, stun. So this would actually do a lot of damage in Faction Wars. A2 ability is very good as well. He plays an increased attack on himself, plays also block debuffs on himself, and he grants himself an extra turn. And his bombs are actually pretty good, pretty decent in Faction Wars as well. They can actually come in clutch and kill the enemy during the waves. So he is very good for Faction Wars, but he is not actually an S tier. I think he's an A tier champion. All right, so Mel Branch is up next. I'm going to throw her as a don't use. We're not going to talk about her anymore. All right, so Marcus up next. I'm going to throw her as usable if you can actually make it work. And here she is. So she actually has decreased attack on her A1. It's only 25%, so not that much. She has an AoE that actually places Weaken and deals extra damage to enemies with the Weaken debuff. And she has a 1-hit freeze, only 1 enemy. So she is usable, I guess, but she's not going to really help out too much in getting 63 stars. So try to get away from building her and build other champions. So she's going to be a don't use, usable if you can make it work. All right, so we have Marcus, who's probably the brother of Marquise. There he is. So he's actually a pretty interesting champion. Oh, he actually has good reviews. I thought he didn't. So I guess he is an underrated champion for Faction Wars. His A1 ability actually has decreased speed if he actually crits. He can actually place a counterattack buff and continuous heal buff on himself for 2 turns. So he is self-sufficient. That is good. And he has an AoE that actually plays asleep and the debuff cannot be removed, which is very good. So I think that he is pretty good. I'm actually going to throw him in as a B tier. So he's going to be a surprise champion. There you guys go. Surprise. All right. Morden McCabe, aka More Than Just Crap. Morden McCabe is actually an S tier for Faction Wars. Let's go look at him real quick. I've actually done a lot of videos on him. He did get reworked, but I don't consider him a top tier legendary champion. But for Faction Wars, I think he is amazing. He has a heal reduction on his A1. That's okay. That's not really the reason why he's very good. He's very good because he actually has an AoE that attacks twice. And then he actually has a 90% chance of placing block buffs for 2 turns. I actually didn't use any books on him. 90% is good enough. And the block buffs debuff cannot be resisted if the target's under heal reduction, which actually synergizes with his A1. Fiery Rage, he has a 20% chance to unlock his secret skill, Peril. So Peril is actually amazing, but only when he is attacked. And he also has a 20% chance to fill his turn meter by 25%, which is very good. So Peril, he attacks one enemy 2 times. This ability hits like a truck. You ignore shield and block damage buffs as well as defense. And then enemies killed by the skill cannot be revived. He's HP based. His damage is based on HP with his peril ability. His other ability is actually based on attack and HP. This one's attack. This one's attack and HP. Yeah, he's actually amazing for that. He can like wipe out an enemy right when he gets peril. So it is amazing. Yeah, so he is an S tier champion for Faction Wars. All right, so Nazana is up next. Here she is, an HP based champion. Nazana's actually always been a very solid champion for Demon Spawn faction. She has an AoE on her A1. She has an ally protection ability for all her allies and also plays a shield on herself for 2 turns. And she can also attack all enemies again, which also plays a decreased attack. But I think that she is top tier for Faction Wars, and we're going to throw her in as an S tier. All right, so next up we have Paida. So I actually do not have Paida, surprisingly. Her A1 ability attacks enemy 2 times. If attacks critical, she has 85% chance of placing decreased attack on all enemies for 2 turns. So that's an AoE decreased attack, which is going to be very helpful in Faction Wars, getting 3 stars in each stage. She also has an AoE on her A2 that can place decreased accuracy. And she can also attack one enemy and removes all buffs from the target and places them on herself. That is amazing. So yeah, Paida is an S tier for Faction Wars. All right, next champion, don't use. Okay, this guy is a don't use as well. I don't really need to talk about Prince Kymor too much. He's actually going to go straight to S tier. He's one of the top tier legendaries in the game, along with Duchess. I was just going to throw him beside Duchess. So you guys can actually argue the Tyrant, wait, is this Tyrant or is this Prince Kymor? Let me check. Yeah, so him and Tyrant look the same. So I was right. This is Tyrant. This is Prince. So yeah, Prince Kymor is amazing, as I said, top tier. All right, so I don't want to make this video too long, so we'll go through these quicker. Sisia Flametongue is an S tier champion. Skimfos the Confused. Is it Confused or Consumed? I guess I'm just confused. So his name is Skimfos the Confused. Again, Consumed. Skimfos the Consumed. He's going to be an A tier. He is very good, but he's going to be an A tier. Soul Drinker, he did get a rework recently. Tanix Hateflower, she has a basic kit, but she is very good. She's usually going to be an A tier as well. But I actually might be wrong about Tanix. Let me check real quick. 2 times at random heals. Oh, okay, never mind. Okay, never mind. Tanix is actually going to be an S tier champion for Faction Wars. Karshawn is going to be A tier. Tormentor is going to be usable if you can actually make it work. Tyrant is an S tier as well. Umbral Enchantress, she's going to be an S tier. And this is a do not use. So the Demon Spawn faction is actually an amazing faction. As you guys can see, I think they have 42 champions, right? So they have 42 champions and 26 of them are top tier champions for Faction Wars. So I think it is actually a pretty easy, if you actually get the champions, it's actually a pretty easy Faction Wars to complete. So hopefully this tier list help you guys out. If you guys like the video, make sure you guys drop a like. I'll actually do more factions as well. If I haven't already, you guys can search for them. But this is the second one that I've done with Demon Spawn faction. So make sure you guys drop a like, help out with the YouTube algorithm. I appreciate you guys. And thank you guys for watching. And I'll see you guys in the next video.
I'm Tyrone. I need everybody to subscribe to the homie Ali Al Plays. And that's non-negotiable.